One of my favorite things in a story is interesting world building. Not necessarily fully fleshed out world building, but the type that complements the story. Something like the mega cityscape of Girls' Last Tour, or the Abyss in Made in Abyss. Worlds that feel all-encapsulating and essentially define the existence of its characters. And so far, Tower of God has had a very similar appeal. It's too early to say if this will hold up, but given how much detail has been dropped here and there about it, I feel this sense of intrigue will only continue to build as more intricacies and environments of the tower are explored. For now though, I just want to talk about what's captivated me. A big element has been that aforementioned nature of the world itself, the idea that this entire universe seems to be contained within the tower. Bam apparently comes from outside it, but just based on the absurd size and scope we're shown, that the very concept of a sky is legend, makes me think that whatever Bam's deal is, he wasn't the resident of some civilization outside the tower, at least not one that's as advanced as what we've been shown inside. So for now, what we see is what we get, and what we've got seems to be a world with boundless potential if we're to believe that Shinsu is as tied to the nature of the tower as it's implied to be. And already there has been a steady drip of world-building info that raises questions as others are answered. These bits are dispensed in a fairly organic manner, because this world doesn't appear to harbor many secrets about how it works. It's strange and unfamiliar to us, but not to those who inhabit it. So information isn't kept under lock and key in order to arbitrarily further that sense of mystery. One of the more recent and interesting tidbits is when Bam accepts a contract with the floor administrator to use Shinsu, a thing most people have to do, and comes face to, well, with something? My assumption up until that point had been that an administrator was some class of ranker, the people who've climbed the tower and now seem to possess some level of authority. Instead, we're shown something that feels almost eldritch in nature, with the implication being that every floor of the tower has some similar entity that I'm assuming has domain over that area. It also gives us some more information about what likely makes Bam special, as it calls the contract more of a shackle. Given that we've seen him not repelled by Shinsu and seemingly became it during the Crown game, this just adds to the evidence that Bam has some unique relationship with this already mysterious force. Which just brings up way more questions about the nature of how things in this world work. But at the same time, it's not like I'm foaming at the mouth for answers, because Tower of God has already set up a good precedent of gradually answering questions I've already had. A likewise recent example of this was revealing what the deal with the princesses was with regards to the tower. I'd wager most people, through bits of information dropped here and there, had already reasoned that the title within the tower is not strictly hereditary before the point it's literally spelled out in episode 6. At that point, it's no longer much of a mystery, and the verbal explanation is brought up fairly naturally through Bam's cluelessness about the tower at large. And the fact that no one is overly shocked by his lack of knowledge also gives us an idea of what we can infer about this world. One possibility is that the residential section of the tower, or the outer part, is itself so vast that someone not having specific knowledge of the princesses isn't seen as odd. The wide variety of what I'm assuming are species we've seen so far would also support this idea. Same goes for the fact that several characters didn't seem to anticipate the challenge Shinsu would present, so maybe there are facets of the inner tower that aren't widely known. Either way, Tower of God has continuously let its viewers ruminate on revelation after revelation, so that we're able to build up a general idea of how elements in this world fit together, before then confirming it in-universe. And I could go on with examples like Anak being a potential princess was foreshadowed to an extent when Rak senses her weapon is similar to Bam's at the start of the Battle Royale, or how Kun storing people in his bag was hinted at when he had trouble passing through the barrier. But really, all I'm describing at this point is good setup and payoff. It's like placing dominoes. As long as the pieces have been laid out well, even if you're able to see what's ahead because of that, the result is still satisfying to watch. And when paired with as fantastical an environment as the tower has proven to be, I think it makes the payoff that much more cathartic, because it feels like you're figuring out a puzzle, if that makes sense. Coupled with that is the inherently symbolic nature of the tower itself. We already know there isn't one unifying desire to climb it. The intro of the first episode made that clear. neither is there, at least so far, someone who has been forced to climb against their will. If I had to guess, I don't think we'll see that because the inner tower is almost presented as an opportunity, the chance to seek out their own purpose and fulfillment, whatever form that may take. At least that feels like what the original purpose of the tower was before rules were imposed and methods used to weed out dissenters and threats to the status quo. Because even reaching the top itself doesn't seem to be a requirement, as it can be inferred that those who stop climbing along the way do so because they have found what they're looking for. Or maybe I'm dead wrong and it's because the tower has just beaten the will to continue out of them. Thematically, I like the first option better, but I guess we'll see. Tower of God has been a divisive series thus far, and I get why to an extent, but I've been enjoying it, in no small part thanks to the setting. It's gotten me to ask the right questions while slowly learning more about this world, only adding to the existing appeal, which is what good or at least intriguing world building should do. But those are just my thoughts, and as always, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Which side of the extreme Tower of God opinions are you on? Feel free to let me know, but keep it civil. Have you read the source material, and if so, what do you think of the adaptation? Those thoughts and any others you might have can be left down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, an especially big thanks goes out to my awesome patrons, OverjoyedSoup, MVPino, Beorn, Yuki Aly, and everyone else whose support helps make videos like these possible. Links to that Patreon if you'd like to join them, my shirts, and everything else are either down below or on the screen right now. Leave a like if you want to help me out, and click that bell icon to keep up to date for whenever a new video goes live, or you could just follow me on Twitter for updates. Thanks again for watching, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time.